Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, May 14th. We have Doug Brown with us again today to talk about natural resources, and we are going to cover specifically soils today. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can also put them in the chat box, and we are recording. So I'm going to turn it over to Doug.
All right, thanks, Beth. Glad to have everybody on here today. We're going to finish up the Ag Ed 360 and 60 here today. It's been a great 5-6 weeks that we've done this in the COVID-19 issue. And hopefully we brought some items to the table that you may not have thought of, or, hey, I did it this way, but maybe I could try it that way. Over the aspects of wildlife, aquatics, soils, and forestry. And just the way the school year is going to be ending here, we thought about doing current issues, but we're gonna skip that here for this year because it looks like the Envirothon is going to continue with that same current issue topic. It looks like right now they haven't made a hard call on that yet, but looks like they're going to go that route. So going to be on watersheds and local problems with local solutions, and there's a lot of issues on that. And Penn State University's extension service has done a great job providing webinars from noon to 1 each day almost. Seems like I was on one yesterday talking about community aspects dealing with trees and community trees and urban forestry and agroforestry and all those factors. And they looks like they have a series that's going to go on between now through the second week in June, actually. Vinny Constro was on yesterday. He's from up here in Montrose, up our area this way, yesterday, talking about that aspect. And he did a great job, great presentation. It was recorded. But that series goes right along with the Envirothon's website of current issue. And it's kind of surprising that they've kind of picked that up, and they probably don't even know that. But today I'm going to kind of roll into that just a little bit. And then we're going to let those experts take over the next couple of weeks with Penn State Extension. And you can possibly get to their website extension, Beth, what is that? extensionpsu.edu, something like that. And into their catalog of courses. And boy, they're doing a good job with that. And I've been on a couple of them. They've been great. So that's something to look forward to here the next few weeks for you. All right. But yeah, soil is kind of an interesting topic. High school, most kids look at soils and go, yay, yippee. This is this topic that I've found over 29 years to be the topic that most kids learn the most from. It's kind of a weird statement, but they come to the table very limited with knowledge, and then they really grow in this particular area. Grew so much, I'll give you an example. Our current chapter president, going to be retiring here. Well, I was already retired from the position, but graduating here earlier in June, just a couple of weeks from now. Came to us as a transfer student from Berwick area school district. Berwick doesn't have an ag program or anything related to that, so we're right next door to him. So he transferred in. Mom and dad were originally from Cumberland Valley area, Cumberland County High School, Cumberland Valley High School. They're products of Bob Leib and Bruce Lemon and those folks years ago. So a little history there. But his mom and dad, Amanda and Tim, were both graduates there and kind of got these kids started in a little bit in soils, but he really didn't know the interest. So he got in our environmental science class and took off and loves the science, loves the soil science part of it, loves the science part, chemistry part. We've taken him to numerous soil health conferences, so much that his interest now lies where he's going to be a proud Penn Stater here starting in the fall. And going to be in that ideas of soils and agroecology. He's all about that. So not many times do you see high school kids kind of go down that route. And one of my good friends and former roommates from college, Dwight Lingenfelder, works over there in the agronomy department. And he kind of took Cody under his wing and just all about networking. So as you head in, John knows this, he's been teaching for a while, and Brandon's going to be getting into the profession here. It's all about networking these students to avenues that you may not be, one, comfortable with, or two, comfortable with, but don't have it to that next level or next step. So it's not only the private industries, but also public industries and universities. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about here right now is community groups real quickly. And that's going to be a key to students to learn more about soils. So universities. We're in the back pocket of Bloomsburg University, but obviously we have a great connection with Penn State. Um, Me being a Penn State graduate, 91, you guys know that. So one of those connections is not only our land grant school at Penn State, there is no other university, by the way, but we deal with Bloomsburg University a lot in the eggs department. 3 of those professors sit on our Ag Advisory Council. So as you think about these type of things, Brandon, as you start a new program, and John, as you look at, you have quite a bit of experience underneath your belt. Your local universities maybe down in your area that maybe talking or could target those areas would be great. And we got those folks on board because a lot of our students connect with Bloomsburg and then they transfer to Penn State. Just the way the university level is working right now. 2 years ago, our chapter president, Mackenzie Fish, had a big interest in wildlife and that type of thing and got with the eggs department. She started there, is going to transfer to Penn State University. Of course, Abby Yoder, 2 years ago, a Penn State, an acceptee to Penn State University. Dad works at the university, got started at Bloomsburg University, former Pennsylvania FFA officer, going to transfer to Penn State University here in the environmental sciences area. So again, these are all connections, and these universities are large, and they have a lot of opportunity. Let me give you an example. Dr. Matt Ricker, who now no longer with Bloomsburg University, got a job at North Carolina State. Obviously the land grant school there in North Carolina, hooked me up before he left Bloomsburg University with a bunch of Munsell soil color charts, soil anatomies, booklets, and we're talking big dollars here. And he also got me some posters and that type of thing. And it's a great connection to something that he did every single day. I don't live soils every day, all day long, but I live them for an hour a day, at least in class. And it's just an interest that I've had for 50 years, and try to get it to a point where we show students, hey, there's a lot in soils, and without soils, we wouldn't be anywhere. From infrastructure to crop production, to environmental science, to growing trees, to creating habitat for wildlife, to landscaping. Kids kid me all the time about, Mr. Brown, your yard's like a golf course. The interest that I have there. So, take care of the soil, it's going to take care of you. And that's kind of what I talk to them about. I'm a real Ray Archuleta fan, Unlocking the Secrets of Soil Health. Our NRCS director, Chris Ripple here, lives in the Benton area, but he's our director. And our Ag Center is located in Central Columbia School District. So, wow, what a great connection to NRCS. And Chris has led me over the years to soil health. And we use a lot of their videos with Ray Archuleta and all those guys, and Lori Plowden and all those folks at NRCS that work out of Penn State. They do a great job. Yuri does a great job. She's been in our facility and done those type of things. All along, of course, Brandon knows this, and John, we're going to tell you today, all the material that I've pushed forward to Beth and John Seaman is in the repository that these guys have put together at the university. And it's a great resource, not just stuff I've done or stuff I've borrowed, but also stuff that they've collected as well. University of Minnesota, another land grant school, Cornell, these places. So a lot of great resources. Brandon's heard me say this a million times. John has over the years. Don't reinvent the wheel. It's a lot of stuff's out there. Our time's limited. This COVID-19 thing's really opened up an opportunity for us as ag teachers to professionally develop. And I've said this right along for 5-6 weeks. Been a great professional development for me at year 29. I've done some things I would have never done before because I've had the time to do it. And I think it's going to help me kickstart into year 30 for me and basically the rest of my career here at Central Columbia over the next 9 to 10 years. So kind of go from there. But yeah, local universities, big resource. NRCS is a great resource, Natural Resources Conservation Service. Those folks are more than willing to take students on as internships to be able to provide you information, goodies like equipment, tools, resources. Chris gave me as many as I wanted, Columbia County soil surveys. Granted, we know that the Web Soil Survey sits out there. We know that. the Web Soil Survey. Anybody can get on it, right? It's a resource that you can use. It's a resource that the Envirothon uses. The class that we mainly touch in soils is, we do a little bit with Ag 1, just to give you a little history there. We do lots of it in environmental science, and we do quite a bit of it in the ideas of Ag 4. So at Central Columbia, we're heavy at the front end, heavy at the back end, and we fill the middle end with environmental science during their underclassmen years. That's what we do. And also the other connection I wanted to say, community-wise, is your conservation districts. Phenomenal resource. I serve on our Columbia County Conservation District as a public director. It gives me lots of access to many tools, people, guest speakers, avenues I wouldn't travel. But going back to the Chris Ripple thing, he gave me an unlimited source of soil surveys that aren't produced anymore. They're hard to find, but the Envirothon still uses them. And students don't know how to use the soil survey. So the Web Soil Survey is really cool, but we get them started on the hard copy first, use it that way. And I gave the worksheet to Beth that's in a repository that we use, that I got from Soils 101 way back in the day. I think it was 1989 or 90 that I kind of reinstituted, but it still works today. So yeah, it might be old school, but old school tools still are okay, right? And it ventured me into, when I came to Central Columbia, hey, this is a great way for them to learn the soil survey. When I was in that class, and I think we also used it in Hort 1 or whatever it was back in the day, I renew soils, so I was very comfortable with it, but students aren't, and it was a great way for me to incorporate them into the soil survey and then advance them into the Web Soil Survey, that next step. So these are some of the sources that I use, that we use here. We found out to be great avenues there for sure. Of course, it's part of our curriculum that we touch on. You talk about the FFA side of it. John already knows this, but Brandon, land judging obviously is a big key there, that Marty Heiler chairs up at Kalniski Valley, is our state chair for land judging. That's for sure. So that would be the direct FFA aspect to it. And then of course your SAE projects. Your SAE projects could be numerous. It could be that plot of ground that John Hess has, and he's doing a research project on as a SAE research. Hey, I do this to the soil, I get this result. Or it's, Beth Matthey in a horticultural setting doing an internship because she has nowhere else to go in the school's greenhouse and doing a research project that way. So with horticultural plants and fertilization and watering. And so these are research projects that can be done as SAE projects. And Carol Fay talks about that all the time, and she's not on today, but Carol talks about that all the time, that students can't be limited to just you have to think outside the box a little bit. And soils are the link to life. Soils are what we're all based off of. We all, unfortunately, this is going to be something that's kind of drab, but right, we all originated from there, and we're all going to return there someday, unfortunately. But plant material, I'm a country music fan, so a lot of times country music talks about that, plus a lot of other things too. But yeah, but we talk about that to the kids a lot, that they don't relate to that, hey, I buried my cat in my backyard, but what's that cat going to do for that soil? Hey, we talk about the big three: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And the kids don't understand macronutrients. They don't understand molybdenum and magnesium and manganese and zinc and cobalt and these types of things that play a large role in soil development, but also are key as a micronutrient for sure. So micro and macronutrients are something that the Envirothon talks heavily about, and any soils course should start there. We talk about the ideas of soil fertilization and what does the fertilizer bag tell you, and what's the big three out there, and what's the percentages that are out there that make up a soil. As we look at fertilization, and can I over fertilize a plant? Absolutely. And what does every plant need the exact same amount? No, it's not. So these are types of things that the soil survey really allows us to in depth go into. And then a lot of our kids go into building construction. I have a student by the name of Matt Yoder who graduated 2 years ago, was in a 2-year program over at Penn College. There's right here in Williamsport by us. And he's going to be graduating here pretty soon. And he always had an interest in soils, but the ideas of soils for building construction, infrastructure, roadways, bridges, homes, buildings, dormitories, things of those sorts. And how does the soil play into that? And that's another key to the soil survey as well. Not just what am I going to do farming wise, right? Or, hey, my local garden. One of our graduates this year, going to be graduating here in 2 weeks, Julia Priestman, been in our program for 4 years. Her SAE was all about gardening. And she did different experiments with different fertilizer amounts, different types of fertilizers. This is not about Miracle-Gro or Peter's fertilizer. There's lots of fertilizers out there, and they're all a little different. And so she did some research on that. So these are types of things that you can get involved with from the ag science side of it, for sure. And the first person tells you that soil isn't a science, they're kidding themselves, because it's involved. And it's a great thing, and it's a great thing to learn about, because we all have some type of effect on it somewhere down the road, immediately or indirectly. AgEdNet.com is obviously something that is a big key. Brandon's heard me talk about this for 6 weeks. AgEdNet.com provides a lot of opportunity for resources for John always talks about. He talked about last week, John Seaman did, about it's a great sub tool. Sure it is. We've used a little bit of it here during COVID, but it's a great resource for you. The girls do a great job out there in Nebraska, heading that thing up and taking those things and updating them constantly. So it's something that they really look into, and they use bona fide sources to do it. It's just not a wiki source. It's a bona fide source of soil scientists coming together, giving us great lessons, agednet.com. So we go from there. So what are some things that you can do as an ag teacher? What are some things that you can get your kids interested in as an ag science instructor? First of all, we always have the students do a soil poster. We find them locate themselves on Google Earth. And then what we do is we actually have them find out what is their soil series at their home. Why can I cannot grow grass at my yard? Why can't I grow a garden? Why is my fields close to my house? What are they? Why aren't they growing things well? So we get them to do a soil poster. We identify a soil series for them, and they concentrate on drainage type. We talk about what's its parent material. We talk about glaciation. You know, northern part of Pennsylvania, not so much where John is, but where we are here in Pennsylvania, located in Central Columbia School District, Bloomsburg, Columbia County, we were affected by glacial till, for sure. We were at the bottom edge of that, but we were affected by glacial till. We talk about the 3 rock segments. Back in the day when I was at Penn State, they talked about simple course when I first started Du Bois campus, earth science courses, sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. It helps your science teachers as well, because in that bio Keystone exam, they talk a little bit about soils, sedimentation, sedimentary rock, igneous rock, and metamorphic rock. Most students don't remember that from middle school. So it's a good review that way to get started where this material came from. So that soil poster does that. We also talk about cation exchange capacity. What can we do from the ideas of protons, neutrons, and electrons? And why do sometimes does water uptake be an issue for plants? Because if the soil gets locked in by different nutrients and different elements that are in the soil, and it doesn't allow that water to get extracted. So nutrient holding capacity is big as well. So soil posters, then the students present those to each other in the class, and it provides a public speaking opportunity for these students as well. So soil posters, a great opportunity. How did we do it in COVID-19? Numbers of ways. VoiceThread, they did a YouTube link. Students love to do videos. So YouTube link, if they had issues with the internet, they saved the poster and they emailed it to me over VoiceThread. So numbers of different ways that you can get them to do it. If you're a tech person, you can really get them to do it that way. And we learned that. I wouldn't have done it otherwise, but we usually do it live, but we did it that way this year. And it worked out very well, very well. So soil posters. What else can you do? You can have those students do soil sampling. You know, we're not too far physically from the town that makes up our state soil, and that's Hazleton. Hazleton soil is our state soil, makes up about 23 to 27% of Pennsylvania. So not quite a third of, little over a quarter of our state is made up of the Hazleton soil series. Known about soil series is they're named by the very first place they were identified, right? And they come with binomial nomenclature, scientific naming, and Hazleton's about 23 miles from our school, from our actual physical building. So the kids have a relationship to Hazleton type soils, but they find out that there's a lot of different soils out there. And Columbia County has about 250 different soil types, series that exist. 309,760 acres makes up Columbia County. Don't ask me why I know that number. I just do. But it's just weird. But 309,760 is a number of acres that we have to manage in a county that's not obviously our largest county. We're close to that. That's Lycoming, right? County is our largest geographically. That's just north of us, and we touch them. And also to the west of us is one of our smallest counties in the state of Pennsylvania, Montour. So it's very unique where we sit closest to one of the smallest counties and one of the largest counties geographically. And we talk about that in the aspects of soil sampling. So I have the students go out, they use baby food jars or small jars, plastic jars, sandwich bags, whatever, and they collect soil randomly in their property. And they bring them in, and we try to identify them according to the soil series on the soil website, Web Soil Survey, or the soil survey itself, the handbook. We try to identify it. And at the Bloomsburg Fair, Beth didn't hear this last week, but Brandon knows from last week that we talk about different things that the Bloomsburg Fair offers. The Bloomsburg Fair does an activity, FFA-wise, where they can do sampling, and they do a sample and they can put a collection together, and it can get judged at the fair. So again, if your fair offers that, that's an opportunity for them to put a collection together, sample it the right way. And I did it years ago with my own daughter. She came through our program, 2016 graduate, and I've kept that ever since and used that as a model that students can use as a soil sampling guide. So it's really cool that way. Of course, we talk about sand, silt, and clay, the soil textural triangle, getting students to get used to the soil textural triangle. The Envirothon hammers that. They have to know how to read the soil textural triangle. Oh, it's just a triangle with numbers on it. Okay, yeah, but you gotta know how to read it. And there's 12 to 14 major soil types on there, from sandy clay loam to clay loam to clay to sandy loam. And they have to figure all those out and what I mean by that. And that leads us into texturing. So texture. The Envirothon always has the students do a ribboning project where they take a soil sample and they take a little bit of moisture, put it in their hands and create that long ribbon. And it determines how much clay and sand are in that soil sample. Of course, we know if I have a lot of sand, not going to ribbon. If it has a lot of clay, it's going to be a nice ribbon. So that's one of the activities that we do because it relates to what the Envirothon has them do. And I think Marty has them do it also in land judging at the state level or the CDE as well. So soil sampling, ribboning, the soil textural triangle, the sand, silt, clay factors that come into play, and a little bit of applied math, right? I think Brandon, Mr. Ramsey had you do a little applied math the other day, right? Is that a correct statement? Yeah, he did. Okay. So it's amazing what I find out. It's amazing. But yeah, so you could do some simple applied math that helps your math department as well. But the students may not like math, which that's me. I'm not a math guy. But you can do the easier, simpler applied math to students that may struggle with math or just don't like it in a situation where they really like the topic. So a Doug Brown liking soils but not liking math is going to really like the math and soils and forestry, but not like math to go to that class for 46 minutes, right? So you can sneak it in on these kids, and it's going to help them with their Keystone exams, their Algebra 1, and obviously the bio exam as well. So we're helping the other departments as well as helping ourselves educate the future of what we're talking about here. So kind of go from there. You guys have any questions at this point? Anything? John, you want to add anything to Brandon over your year's experience?
So I teach more mechanics, so I really haven't taught soils in the classroom much, but
Okay.
it's a hobby of mine. Yeah, so
Am
that's kind of
I
my
kind of,
perspective. Everything you've said, I agree with,
okay.
from my knowledge. And yeah, I'm always on Twitter. There's lots of cool people to follow on Twitter. Um, Wealth of information there. I'm a big Twitter fan. You drop the stuff that's junk and you keep following the people that are good, and
Yep.
you can mine a lot of information that way.
Exactly. And it's funny, Brandon, that John just talked about mining, because mining is a role that plays a key here in soils. Kids don't know that. Living in Columbia County. Now, John, you're in Lancaster, right? Are you in Lancaster County?
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I thought. Okay.
I
Yep.
have an uncle in Montour County, so I
Okay.
get up that way a decent amount.
Yep. Okay. So I knew there was a connection there somehow. So, but yeah, so you talk about mining. Let's talk about that just for a minute, because I was going to go into that anyways, and John did a great prompt there for me. So I'll go with it. That's the other thing, Brandon, as you just talked about classroom management. When these kids start to talk about their own discussions, they might lead you into another discussion. That's okay. That's time management, but it's time ready issues. I'm going to talk about that here in the future here today, about it's okay to be time oriented to what's going on in society today. So, soil today is something that I think more people in the general public understand than they did 15 years ago, because of guys like Ray Archuleta, because of the students that we're teaching today, and they're going to go out in their adult life and be more aware of it. No question about it. It's because of Twitter, and because of things like all the other social platforms that are out there, that people are pushing material through. Facebook, and obviously the internet's huge with all these videos and things. Last year we did our fair booth. Each year the Bloomsburg Fair has the FFA chapters do a fair booth discussing whatever you wanted to discuss. And last year we did one on just overall soil health. You know, with Cody Lehman, our chapter president, I usually have the president tell me, what direction do you want to go? And this year he wanted to go soil health. Well, he was actually so into soil health that Geisinger had a theme this year: long live everyone. And that's their theme right now, especially with COVID-19. So if you're around any Geisinger areas, I was just at one on Tuesday, going by it. I see they have big banners now: long live everybody, hashtag long live everybody. So they did a promotion in the fall. It's kind of a weird thing how this all fell into play, but they identified Cody to do a video for Geisinger as an ag science student in Columbia, Montour County, to talk about what he's learned and how it relates to overall human health. He talked about home gardening. He talked about organic production, that type of thing. It was great. We spent 8 hours worth of filming that day for 1:30. So spent a lot of time, but he got promoted. It was something that was great. It was promoted throughout the Bloomsburg Fair. But our fair booth was on soil health, and DEP and NRCS picked up on it, and was in the national magazine for NRCS, that Central Columbia FFA, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, took it upon themselves, an ag science program, to promote soil health. So now we moved into the next step for this next fair, and we're already started the next fair, believe it or not already. Regenerative agriculture, that's the new term, regenerative agriculture. Our fair booth is on regenerative agriculture. If you could have heard Cody Lehman's speech this year, which we're not going to hear that, but he's saving that for another day, maybe a state officer selection process here in another week or so. But his whole speech was on regenerative agriculture and how soil drives human health, how it drives human existence, and how it drives the future of what we are as humans. It's a very powerful speech of almost about 8 minutes, but lots of data in it. Probably in my 29 years, I don't think I've ever seen a speech, and we're a speaking chapter, that has ever had more data in it than that did. And it just led us into the next fair booth, which was a lot more data. So cool things like that. You can promote those types of things if that opportunity comes. Extension of the classroom, your local fairs. So a lot of current issues out there. Like John said, Twitter. All the social platforms have lots of current issues centered around soil health right now. So why not have a student do a slight reading? And 2 weeks ago, I sent this to John and Beth in the repository. We're an LFS school, learning focused schools. So we have the students do a lot of industrial reading and then do short writings about that to help our Keystone exams in Lit 1. So John, you didn't hear me say that before, so that's why I'm saying it today. It's really helped us. And then Beth, I sent to you last week a constructed response. And I think we put that on the repository. What we do at the end of each unit, we have like, let's talk about animal welfare or a soils unit or plant science unit. At the end of that unit, not only the information we go over, we have them do a 21-point prompt that's driven by our English department, but it's related to that subject. So I have a student do a construct response, 21 points, and you'll see the rubric why it's 21 points. Tell us what you're going to tell us, and then tell us what you just told us. And there it is. There's the prompt. And Todd Biddle, actually, I shared this with Todd 2 years ago over at Bald Eagle. He was just really struggling with some things. And this, you put your prompt in there up the prompt area, type in whatever you want. And there's an example of one on, we did, right there was a great one. Yep, there's one on plant science. And you can make it whatever you want, but there's 7 points for state it, 7 points for support it, 7 points for explaining it. Well, at Central Columbia, what we've always talked about is the rubric's great, but those other columns right of column 7.7, they don't exist. Either you're shooting high or not shooting. Pretty simple, right? We don't go into a speaking contest going, boy, I hope I get a 3 out of 7, right? We don't do that. So we're shooting for that 7. So that's where the 21 points come into play. We have found out that this has really helped our Lit department, and our scores at Central Columbia in Lit 1 are around 94%. They're phenomenal across the board. Why? Because we've been dedicated to this for about 12 years of getting these kids producing these industrial writings concentrated around our units of instruction. It's been a great tool. So if you could take it from anything away from the day, use these construct responses. They're great. But what we do is we work at those and we continue to develop them. I'm not a reader. Beth knows this. I'm not a reader for enjoyment. It makes me tired. I don't read novels. I don't read, fiction, and I don't read any of that stuff. I read industrial. I read the news. I read about sports, and then I read industrial that deals with agriculture and environmental. So this is a great tool for me as well, just to kind of summarize for me as an educator, what I can push out there is information. I get it. It's not for everybody. So a lot of readings out there. Or I talked about the soil surveys. Some other things you can do. Bulk density experiments, right? It's something both you guys could do. It's a very simple tool. I'm at home here, so I don't have it. It's at school. But it's called a bulk density tester. It's a real simple tool. It's got a long arm on it with a little leveling device and a bucket at the end. And I use different scenarios, but it's a way for you to determine bulk density of fertilizer. Could even do it with feed if you wanted to, right? Or soils. So that bulk density experiment, I gave the site, and we're going to go to the Envirothon website here quickly, and I'm going to show you that bulk density aspect. So Beth, if you want to go to that website now, the Envirothon website, that would be great. While she's doing it, you guys have any questions? So we're going to go to station training and soils. John, I'm going to try to give you a couple things that you could potentially use in the classroom that we've used for success. I'm not going to give you something that we know that doesn't work, right? Hey, it didn't work for us, but go ahead and try it and see if it works. Nah, not going to do that, right? So let's go to reference materials. And if you've never been on the Envirothon website, John, have you ever been on it? Brandon has. No? Phenomenal website. If you're doing anything with soils, forestry, aquatics, and wildlife, wow. It's just great stuff. So let's go to number 5. Let's go to bulk density moisture aeration. This is done. Now this is done by NRCS. So it's a professionally done item. Didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I told you, I promised I'd do that for you. There it is. You don't have to come up with it by yourself. And it talks about bulk density. We know that an ideal soil is 25% air, 25% water, 45% inorganic material, and 45% organic. So 5%, 45, 25, and 25, making up 100%. Kids need to understand what organic and inorganic is and what that means. They have no relation to that. They have no clue, right? Well, I think it contains carbon or something, right? Okay, great. So let's go with that. So we know that the release of carbon into the atmosphere is not a pleasant thing. And we've done that over the years. So when we go out and I see guys going up and down the road here the last couple of days, not tilling a lot of ground here in Columbia County, but tilling enough. We're releasing a lot of carbon back into the atmosphere. And we know that carbon's a negative player in our atmosphere when it comes to global warming, climate change, and those type of things. So carbon in the air doesn't do us a great amount of good, but carbon in soils does us a lot of good. So we've heard Ray Archuleta talk a lot about this type of thing, and a lot of other experts as well, Uri Ploud and those folks, and folks at Penn State University as well, right? And kids don't understand bulk density. So it involves a little bit of volume, total weight, displacement, a little bit of applied math. And again, going back, remember what I said, I'm not a math guy. So this is way easy for me to teach math the way I enjoy it, and a way for kids to understand it on a basis and topic that they would like to see it in. So this is a great tool, bulk density. That's a great sheet. Don't reinvent it. Once the kids get it, they get it. Let's roll up this a little bit, Beth. We'll talk about the next one. Yeah, can you keep going a little bit? Can you go up a little bit further? Yeah, yep. All right, hold there, just, whoop. We go back to, yep. So you could talk about that pie graph really quickly. And Beth's running the screen for me here today, guys. She always does. She's my assistant. So what we look at here is we look at the diagram that makes up the soils, and we could talk about biotic and abiotic. Yeah, we know that ants and nematodes and earthworms and those type of things all exist in soil, but what do they really do? And that's where you could talk about the bio part of it. And that's what we do here in our place, talk about. Takes 100 years of time to make 1 inch of topsoil from bare rock. Wow. 75% of Pennsylvania is sedimentary rock, going back to Pangea, long before any of us were thought of, and that big land mass. And how did those land masses get divided in the continents that we know today? And why does Juniata and Snyder and Union and Northumberland counties and Mifflin County, why do they look the way they do on a topo map? Why are they like slanted or almost vertical in their placement when everybody else is horizontal? Why does that exist? Because years ago, when Pangea slammed together or dissipated and came back together, Pennsylvania got hit in the Delaware County area and created shock waves that now exist in those counties. And that's why you could talk about a little geology there as well. It's just an interest that I had, and we take the kids down that geology route as well. So you could talk about rocks and fossils. So that's the other thing that we do is we do a fossil research. What's the state fossil? What makes up fossils? And do investigation. Acorn Naturalist, Brandon's heard me talk a lot about this before, but Acorn Naturalist has a great collection of all the fossils for every state in the United States, professionally done, better than I could ever do. So we purchased that. Minerals of every state. Of course, Pennsylvania's is coal, right? Anthracitic coal. And going back to John's original statement 5 minutes ago about mining, we here in Columbia County live in a mining area. Southern part of Columbia County, of course, Centralia, right? The burning mine fires from 1980s still exist today. Graffiti Highway and all that, if you ever heard about those type of things. But we know that we have underground mining and a lot of mine spoils that lives in northern Schuylkill County and southern Columbia County exist. And what an eyesore. So where does mining come into play with soils and soil development? If you're doing slate extraction as a mining source, deep well mines, strip mining in the western part of Pennsylvania, any of these types of mining sites cause acid mine drainage, which now you're talking water quality. So how does soil relate to water quality. And it does. There's a direct relationship there. So, and that's what the available water is talking about. So Beth, if you could scroll up just one more time, then we're going to get off this slip. But bulk density, yep, keep going, keep sliding up a little bit. Keep going. I want to show you one thing here. Keep going, guys. Yep. One of the things you guys can do, I'll tell you when to stop, Beth, sorry. There you go, right there. That's good. So you talk about infiltration. That's going to be the next one. Easy, real simple thing you could do. You could buy infiltration rings, but you can make them. So John, you being an ag mechanics guy, and Brandon going to be an ag mechanics guy, right? Just take a band of material 2 inches wide, cut it at different lengths, and then bend it around and TIG weld it or MIG weld it, and you create your own infiltration rings. And what you could do is you can have the kids do infiltration and permeability testing to see how fast the water goes in the soil and how fast does it get saturated. We do it all the time. It's what DEP does when they go out and they do a perk test, right? To see if you can put a sand mound in your home. They don't do septic tanks anymore, but if you do a sand mound, how fast that soil percolate and permeate. Well, that's a direct relationship to their life because they're going to own a home someday. And if they build a home on a new property, they're going to have to get it perk tested. So here again, a great relationship. You could have somebody from DEP come in, talk about perk testing. You know, basically it's pretty simple. The homeowner digs a hole, has a bucket available with water in it, and when the DEP guy gets there, he pours the water in the hole. Well, anybody can do that, right? But do you pay that money to have that done? So it's something that they could better get a better understanding about. So infiltration testing, permeability testing, simple tool, but very few kids understand it. Great topic, great item. So infiltration rings, I'm looking at my notes here just for a second. And then you could time that and relate it to time. You know, if I was building a home, why would I worry about that? If the water stayed at the soil surface, what's going to happen to my effluent? And my solid material is going to float to the top. Not good, right? And if it goes too fast through the soil, now it's going to go right in the groundwater. So that's not good either. So it's one of those things we talk about: nutrient holding capacity, water holding capacity, cation exchange, infiltration. Great idea. So Beth, if you could go to the next one underneath that would be infiltration is the next one. And if we talk about that, we talk about organic matter. So you can go all the way back to the website there and go to the infiltration sheet. So I'm going to keep going while you're doing that for betterment of time here. So soil organic matter, you can obviously do that. Again, Ray Archuleta has a great amount of videos out there called Unlocking the Secrets to Soil Health. There is a great series on these from anywhere from a minute and a half long to a whole period, 40 minutes. I use a lot of those short little videos as bell ringers, anticipatory sets, beginning thoughts, call it what you want, but we do a lot of those type of things. So you kind of go from there. Yeah, Beth, you could go right back to the actual Envirothon website. Yep, let's go to infiltration. I just want to show you real quick. Yep. And this is all in the repository, guys. It's all there. Same sheet, just talk about infiltration. I won't have her scroll it, but it gives you the idea. We can go back then, Beth. I just want to show you guys where this stuff is. You can go to organic matter. Yep. And then we talk about organic matter and the importance of organic matter and holding the whole idea of cover cropping, right? If you haven't heard about cover cropping, you've been living underneath a rock, that's for sure, even though we've been in COVID, but you just got to get out a little bit, right? At least on the internet. So you could talk about soil color. Soil color has a lot to do with organic matter, and kids do not know how to use the Munsell soil color chart at all. Unfortunately, that's a very expensive booklet. It's about $180 to purchase that book or hook up with the university. You didn't hear this from me, but it's being recorded, so I guess you are. Every state university like Bloomsburg, every 5 years, has to re-up their information they're presenting to college, post-secondary kids. So what they do with these books, there's nothing wrong with them. So what did the professors at the eggs department at Bloomsburg University do? Being on our advisory council, hey, Mr. Brown, here's a bunch of Munsell soil color charts. Take them. We can't use them. Well, great. It saved me $180 times 5 or whatever I needed, right, to get them. Great. So it was a great tool there. But soil color, then you could get into hue, chroma, and value, right? Helps your art department. If you have art kids, artists, I'm not an artist, but if you have kids that are into that, the other thing you guys don't know, everybody will know it now, but I'm colorblind. So when it's a real key there that the kids pick up on that, but I tell them up front, right? a lot of colors I see, but there's some I can't. And so they think it's kind of fun that they know a color that I don't. And, all right, it's great, cool. So it's a great teacher-student relationship we build. Alyssa, I guess I can pronounce this now, right? Beth, I can say this? The student teachers know where they're going, right? Yeah, so Alyssa Landis is going to be with us here this coming spring, the 2021 year. We're excited to have Alyssa. She's going to learn a little bit about that and that little quirk that makes what I am. But yeah, soil color, really cool thing. Munsell soil color chart. You can have kids do an activity with that as well. It relate to soil color. So Beth, we can go back then to pH. Then we can get into the soil chemistry of it. pH, kids understand percent of hydrogen. What does that actually mean? Have them do a soil testing. A lot of different places have it. NASCO has soil testing. Acorn Naturalist has soil testing. Different crops use different pHs. And there she goes. She has it up on the screen for us. Different landscape, like azaleas and rhododendrons, love acidic soils. Your grass and your yard doesn't. So what do? Put lime on it. What does lime do? Absorbs the acid. It's like an antacid, like when you take Tums or Rolaids. What does that do for your system? Then you could relate to human health and talk about acid reflux disease and all these type of things, how acid's a negative. So it relates to soil, but also relates to their body. So it's really cool how we kind of relate it to them. And you could actually do the activity. We do this activity, measuring soil pH. The Envirothon has had you do this before. Litmus paper, there's your pH paper, comparing the colors, that type of thing. It's a good experiment to do. Great hands-on activity. They don't really relate to it up front, first of all, but then after they've done. Oh, I think I did that one in bio when I did water or something like that. Well, same concept, but now we're relating it to soil. So, and then, of course, all the glossary terms that are there. And you guys have all that stuff. I put all that on the repository, but it's all there. You could talk about fixation. I mean, that's obviously something we're driven by science. Phosphorus fixation, the nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, the water cycle itself. We all learned about that in elementary school. But let's really break down the water cycle. Why is it really important? Do we understand the parts of it? Okay, great, we do. But let's really get in depth on why does the water cycle exist and what can it do for us? So John, that could be something you could talk about from the production side, or Brandon, you could talk about from the production side. Because a lot of people think that soil just is for farming, right? Well, it's more than that, a lot more than that. Golf courses, all your turf grass management facilities, Beaver Stadium, right? Heinz Field, the links where the Eagles play, wherever, all plays into this. These guys just don't go out there and mow the grass. There's a lot to it. There's a soil chemistry to it. So, wow, what a thing you could expose the kids to there, right? So Soil Horizon, Beth, if we could go back to the Envirothon website, Soil Horizons, just overall, yeah, there's one on soil nuggets. We can do that one quick. This is actually one of the ones we're using for the fair. I just produced. This is brand new. This is by Ray Archuleta and the boys at Unlocking Your Secrets to Soil Health. Great information. Cover cropping. Right now, the big deal, right? Sod busters. Kids learn about this in history. Well, what's a sod buster? I don't know. They just turn ground over. Yeah, but why? Why did they turn ground over? Well, why did that hurt us in the Great Depression? Was the Great Dust Bowl? And then why are we going back to covering crops? What can it do for us? Well, it's called that cocktail mix. That's number 6. It's the idea of we have to do all this in proportions and the correct proportions and what makes it happen. So cover cropping, our kids at our place have really grown to enjoy the conversations of cover cropping because a lot of them have deer food plots as well. So they're hunting. So we're talking about the brassicas. We talk about the cucurbits. We talk about why do these plants, or why are they being suggested in these deer food plots? Well, why is that important? What does a turnip do for us? What does a radish do for us? What is an artichoke and Brussels sprouts and why do we have these alfalfa mixes and clover mixes? Now they really start to go, oh, okay, yeah, now I get it. They're a legume. They're putting nitrogen back in the soil. That type of stuff. It's a real key to maybe somebody had in wildlife that say, well, I don't need to really manage soil. Well, no, you kind of do. If you want those deer to come into that plot, you have to understand the soil type first before you start putting it in, right? So you can relate it many, many different ways. That's for sure. So soil horizons, right? O, A, B, C, and R. And you could talk about why they all exist. Obviously, topsoil, subsoil, parent material, bedrock. All those factors come into play. I remember having Dr. Vargas at Penn State University at Du Bois campus. Good professor. Actually, ended up being a great friend of mine after I was done with his class. And I went to actually school with his daughter, Jean. But long story short, we learned a lot from him as a freshman at Du Bois, just about soils and as it related to soil health, even though it was a science credit I had to take, but as an ag major, but we learned a lot even way back then in 1987. But Unlocking the Secrets of Soil Health, great tool for you guys to use. There's a phenomenal amount of information out there for it. And then obviously, if you go to the Envirothon website, I'm going to actually highlight John. Actually, John's on today. Let's go down to the learning enhancements. And you might know these folks. I don't know these folks, John. But if you scroll up, these 3 study sessions are done by the Lancaster County Conservation District. And they talk about soil health, all these factors that come into play. And we showed each one of those videos. They're each a video done, they're 19 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but they're done by Lancaster County Conservation District talking about soil study sessions in the Envirothon. So yeah, there you go. So this is on the website. You can utilize that. We do it all the time. That's for sure. So do you know that guy? You do? Okay, cool. I don't know him only from the video. So there you go. There's a connection. Pretty cool, right? And then lastly, just to finish us up, we talk about texture, the soil carbon point of it. And then you could actually have them construct soil horizons, actually have them sample it. Tools you're going to need out there, just a regular shovel, just have them create one. So all these are all part of it. Ohio State does a nice job on soil health sequencing. That's at fund number 13 there. They do a good job with that. That's a pretty intense talking about soil carbons. It's up there. It's pretty high level, but it's really good information. And the Envirothon uses a lot of that information on their questions, on their knowledge test. Marty doesn't use so much of that, the land judging survey part of it in this land judging CDE, but the Envirothon does. That's for sure. And then orienteering. One of the very first things we do, I'm talking about it last today, but orienteering, have them use a compass on the soil surface. Beth, if you could go to number 1, Introduction to Soils to Pennsylvania, while I'm talking about orienteering. So have them use a compass. Have them go out and set flags out and have them identify their compass direction. Because they've always heard that moss grows on the north side of a tree. But why? Why is soil in the north tier a little different than what it is in the southern tier of Pennsylvania, right? And this pamphlet, Introduction to Soil Health, it's numerous pages. But I also downloaded it. It's in the repository, but it's also on their website. The Envirothon is a great key to the geological surveys, the geological cycle, why they exist. All these factors come into play. So yeah, orienteering is something that kids could use the compass to determine direction. There's exactly what we were talking about just a couple of seconds ago. There it is, the soil horizons, right? And why they exist. I have our maintenance guys way down below our middle school dig a pit for us in early March. We didn't this year because of the situation, but I actually have them dig a pit, and we keep the pit open because our middle school is involved with the Envirothon for the middle school Envirothon aspect. And we use the pit as a live scene of what do you actually see? Where are the soil horizons? Is there modeling? There's what we're talking about with Juniata County. You can see it there, right there in the middle of the state. Why is it almost vertical versus horizontal? And then what's a plateau and what's an Appalachian area and what's a ridge and furrow system, and all these type of things can come into play here. As you talk about Piedmonts and things, those are geologically. But going back to that orienteering thing, we use that pit to show them that. But why is the compass important? To show them direction. And it's an easy activity you can do. And we also teach land surveying at our place in our ag science program. So it relates to that as well as a homeowner. So lots of different factors there. And I also put on the repository, I took a picture. This is weird. I took a picture of a soil sample through a microscope. It's the Binoc microscope. But I took a picture with the camera of an iPad. Came out really cool. And the kids do that all the time. It was really neat. And they could see the actual soil size of the particles that exist. Lots of information there, that's for sure. But some websites, soil4teachers.org. And Beth has these on a repository. But soil4, the number 4, teachers.org. Yep. Yeah, soil 4, the number 4. I think it's soils. There you go. Wow, what a site. John, just getting started. If you're going to get into that, John, or Brandon, as you get started in a career, wow, what a website. I'll be honest with you. I'd be lying if I didn't say this. I didn't even know this existed until I started playing around a month ago and saw this. This is K-12. Great resources out there for us. Why reinvent the wheel? The biology, life and soils, and wow, it's all done for us. Great aspect. Soils4kids.org. That's a great site as well for younger kids, K-4 kids. So at Central Columbia, agriculture is the science that we use in our school. So the Ag Mobile comes to Central Columbia, but they also use this site as well. Soil4kids.org. Great site. Little lower key. It does have different grade levels, so you could do that as well. But different experiments. Hey, I'm just stuck on something. How about an experiment on organic matter? I can't get a hold of Doug Brown, or whatever the case. Just didn't want to bug Doug Brown. But by the way, anytime you want to, guys, you guys know where I'm at. I'll respond to you. But give you an aspect of this is a great website as well. So Soil for Kids, digging into soil is another great website that we've located. A lot of free material. Again, not reinventing the wheel. Yep, it's kids. I think it's through Kids Gardening, but wow, there's a lot of information here. Just talk about great publications already done, professionally done. We're all stuck for time. Not right now, we probably aren't, but in a normal situation, we are. John knows this. He's been at it for a while. Brandon, you're going to find out, right? Welcome to the profession. But it's just one of those things that you come into play. It's all done for us. If you're looking for, John Hess getting ready to start teaching soils for the first time, where do I start? This could be a great key here, right? Talk about talk about digging before you actually put utilities in, right? Calling the 811 number. What is that all about, right? Kids ask me all the time, what is that 811 thing? Well, it's to make sure that you aren't going to dig up a utility pole line, sewer line, telephone line, whatever, right? Gas line, heaven forbid, something like that. Which relates to this as well. So agriculture plays a big key here. And then kidsdiscovery.com. This one's a little bit more limited because they want you to buy material, but it's kidsdiscovery.com. Here you go. Again, a little lower key, right? A little lower level, but if you have a middle school program, like Athens has now opened up their middle school program for applicants. So Brandon, if you didn't see that yet, it's posted on the site here. But Dave and Sarah Beth are trying to get rolling with a middle school program up there, just like our middle school program that Jen Fisher does with us. This could be a source for that aspect as well. And then lastly, study.com. Study.com has some information on soils to it. Lots of sources here. You just got to get into that right sense. I think if you scroll up, Beth. Yeah, 4 teachers. I think there's a lot of topics there. Some of these are free, some you have to pay for, but there's some stuff there, videos you can get. There's lots of material out there. Quizzes that are already professionally done, whatever it may be, but it gives you an aspect there, study.com. This one's a little bit more cumbersome, but it was the last one that I had seen that I thought, well, might be worth something. So study.com. So there's about 4 or 5 websites that you can do for sure. So gives you an idea. But lots of information out there. Soils. It's starting to pick up. There's a lot of interest in soils. Kids learn a lot if you do it the right way. Kids learn a lot of information about soils that even today in this hour that I showed you can relate to math, can relate to history, can relate to science, and you can involve English in with it as well as you talk about studying soils and soil health. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. We're at the hour time here. As Dr. Daniel Foster says, the hour's upon us. Everybody's time is important. So here we are. Yeah, if you have any questions, we can do it. John stepped away there for a minute, but Brant, if you have any questions or anything, we can go from there. So are you up to 3 pages? That's what my key is. Are you up to 3?
I'm just about to go on my 3rd page, so we're
All right, good. We've stayed with the theme of 3s then. We're good. So
I'm going to
sand,
stop the
silt, and clay,
recording.
right? Sand, silt, and clay, sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous rocks. See, this